guys, I wanted to show you how I made the mobile for Kaylin's bedroom. And this, I've only just barely started it, so it doesn't look like much right now, but you can see how it's starting to come together. And I wanted to show you how I put each strand of butterflies on. So this is a 8-inch ring that I got at Joann's. And then the fishing line, it's not normal fishing line because that over time can get kind of curly. This is a beading line, and it's called monofilament. So this is what I'm using to hang the butterflies on, as well as my trusty glue gun. I found that this is the easiest way for me because I love using the glue gun. So what I did was, you can kind of see there's this cross in the middle. And so what I did was I tied the monofilament to one end, and then I strung it across and tied it onto the other end. And then there's just a little dab of hot glue holding them in place because I didn't want it going from side to side, and I wanted to make sure it stayed tight in the middle. And then I did the same thing on this strand right here. And so this is all in place. So I did that first before I started anything. This ring started as gold. I started spray painting it white, and I ran out of spray paint, so it's not quite finished, but that doesn't matter. You're not going to see it when I'm done with everything. So I'm going to show you how I'm attaching the butterflies. So I'm just going to lay them all off to the side like that, and I'm doing, there's going to be a strand pretty much at each point, each of these 4 points where the plus sign is, and then 2 strands in the middle of each one, and that makes it so that the butterflies are just spaced perfectly. They're not quite touching all the way around. So to make a new strand, I just eyeball it. You need a little extra room at the top to tie it to the top, and then you need a little extra room at the bottom to tie the bead on. So I just snip that off, and now I'm going to be working on the strand that's right about here at this intersecting point. So I'm going to tie on the monofilament, and I have been doing 4 knots. That makes it fairly secure. Alright, now I've got all these butterflies cut out already. Now I love hot glue, and that's what I use for this. So I've kind of gauged how I wanted all of these to be fairly similar in their length. I just spaced them accordingly. So I'm eyeballing it, and I'm holding the fishing line with this finger. I'm holding the butterfly in place with this finger so that the monofilament goes just right down the center of the butterfly. I know you can't really see it in the video, but it's going straight down like this. So I'm holding it in place, and then I'm going to run the glue gun over the butterfly, most importantly so that it goes over the monofilament so it holds the monofilament to the butterflies. And then I'm just going to sandwich it right between the 2 butterflies. And then that will just hold it in place perfectly. And also the hot glue gives it a little bit of weight also, so that so they all hang nicely. And then the addition of the bead at the bottom also helps hold the paper down so that it flows nicely on the mobile. So I'm just going to keep doing that with all 5 colors. You can make any shapes you want. I did butterflies because my daughter's nursery is a garden theme, but you can do elephants, you can do like whatever shape that you want, and whatever shape you can find or have on your Cricut cartridge or can find in another sort of die cutting So now I'm going to show you how to put the bead on the end. I have this iridescent glass bead, adds a little bit more sparkle to it. And I'm going to thread it onto my monofilament. Okay, so I've got it just threaded on like this, and then I'm going to go back through the top pull it out, and then pull it through that loop. So I've got it hanging about that far down. You can do any distance that you want from the bottom. If you want it to hang down farther, you can. And I'm just going to do this a few times. I'm going to do an extra step just because I love hot glue. I just want to make sure it's very secure. So I'm going to do just the tiniest little dab of hot glue at the tip. If you get a little bit of extra hot glue, you know how it gets kind of stringy, you can just cut that off. And there you have your butterfly strand. And now that I have all of the strands done in this quadrant here, I'm just going to add a tiny little dab of glue over the knots that I made at the top of each strand. Just to make sure that the knots don't come out. I'm sure some people have fancy ways of knotting so that they don't need the extra glue, but I don't. I just tie knots and I add glue so they don't come out, and it really doesn't matter because you're not going to see the glue. It's all going to be covered at the end. So here we are. I have the whole outside done, and if you look through the top, maybe you can see I've got 3 of the inside strands done. So I have this one to do next, so I'm going to show you how I do this next inner layer of butterfly strands. So lay it here, and I'm going to take some of this monofilament again and just get a length that's more than I need. And even though I'm going to eventually, so here's the from the center to the end, even though it's going to go in the center here, I'm going to tie it on here at the end because I can move it along this strand. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did around the outside, give it some good knots. Doesn't need to be super tight, but tight enough. I'm going to do 4 again, and then snip the end. Now the reason, and then I'm going to put this at the bottom because we want the butterflies to go underneath. So I'm putting it at the very end here because that makes it easier for me to add the butterflies. Then it's kind of like the outer layer that I did where the, you know, I can just do the butterflies from here to here or so. And then when I'm done, I'll scoot it in a little bit. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, and then I also have that second layer. It's hard to tell from here, but I have it one butterfly longer than the others, so I started over again with the hot pink. So now all you have to do once you're finished is slide this to the center of that strand. Now I'm actually going to keep it here because I'm going to tie one more strand to here that's going to go in the middle. So the middle one is going to be hanging only from one strand, and the reason for that is so that I can do the strand over here at the end. Okay, so now I have all of the butterfly strands done. I'm sorry, it's hard to see at this angle. You can kind of see here that the one in the middle with the big bead is longer than all the others. So you'll be able to see better in the picture that I post. So the next step is to take these little tool pieces. I've got 3 colors of tulle: turquoise, fuchsia, and green. And the green has sparkles. It's kind of fun. But be careful with the sparkly tulle. It gets glitter everywhere. But it's really fun. And I just used tulle on the spool like this. You can get it in the wedding section at Michael's or Joann's. And the easiest way to cut it is to take off a big, a long length like that, fold it in half, and cut it. And then what you're going to do is hold the ends and cut down the fold. So then you'll have 2 pieces. You're going to fold it in half again and cut down the fold. And then you'll have 4 pieces. And then keep doing that until you're just cutting down the middle and you've got your strips that are, they're maybe half an inch to an inch wide. This one's probably about an inch. They vary a little bit. So that way, instead of just cutting one strip at a time, you're cutting several at a time. And then I cut them in half too. So they're half as long. It kind of stretches when you tie it, so it actually is going to look a little bit longer than this once we use it. So then what we're going to do is just tie each of these pieces around. So it's the perfect little length. You could use ribbon for this if you wanted. I wanted a lighter look than ribbon, so I went with the tulle. But you certainly can use ribbon or fibers of any kind that you might have. So I'm just going to keep going all the way around, alternating the colors. There's going to be green glitter all over my desk when I'm done with this. Right, just like that. So I'm going to go all the way around.